giving my daughters 1 week to leave my house after what they did to their half-brother. My name is Sarah, and I'm a mom to 3 kids. My daughters Emily and Chloe, who are 23 and 21, and my little boy, Tom, who's only 7. Life hasn't been easy for us, especially since my second husband, Robert, passed away 6 months ago. His death left a big hole in our lives, and I've been trying to hold everything together for Tom and me. Emily and Chloe moving back home was supposed to be a fresh start for all of us, but now I'm questioning everything after what they did to their little brother. Let me give you some background so you understand how we got here. 9 years ago, I divorced my first husband, Mike, the girl's dad. It wasn't a friendly split. Mike was bitter, and he filled Emily and Chloe's heads with all sorts of stories about me and later about Robert. The girls chose to live with their dad after the divorce, and I didn't fight them on it because I wanted them to be happy. I missed them terribly, but I thought it was best to let them decide. A couple of years later, I met Robert, a kind man, who worked as a mechanic and loved to make people laugh. We got married, and soon after, we had Tom. He's been the light of my life, especially since Robert got sick. Emily and Chloe never warmed up to Robert. They thought he was trying to replace their dad, and Mike didn't help by telling them Robert was a no-good loser. The girls barely visited when they were younger, and when they did, they kept their distance from Robert and Tom. It hurt, but I hoped time would heal things. When they went off to college, they lived in a rental apartment that Mike paid for. But last year, Mike got remarried to a woman named Linda, who the girls can't stand. They say she's mean and controlling, and after a big fight, Mike stopped paying their rent. With no jobs and no place to go, Emily and Chloe asked if they could move back in with me and Tom. I didn't hesitate to say yes. They're my daughters, and I wanted to help them get back on their feet. When they moved in 3 months ago, I noticed they were polite but distant with Tom. They'd say hi to him or ask how school was, but they never spent real time with him. Tom's a shy kid, small for his age, with big brown eyes and a quiet voice. He doesn't ask for much, but I could tell he was curious about his big sisters. He'd linger near them sometimes, hoping they'd notice him, but they rarely did. I figured they were just adjusting to being back home, so I didn't push it. I was just happy to have them under the same roof again. Everything changed 2 days ago. It was a Tuesday, and Tom had been sick with a stomach bug since the weekend. He was stuck in bed, pale and miserable, throwing up every few hours. I'd been taking care of him nonstop, but that afternoon I got an unexpected call from my boss. There was a problem at work, a shipment mix-up that needed me to come in person to sort out. I'm a manager at a small warehouse, and I couldn't say no. I figured I'd be gone for 2 hours at most. I went to the girls who were in the living room. Emily was scrolling on her phone, and Chloe was watching a show on her laptop. "Girls, I have to run to work for a bit," I said. "Tom's upstairs in bed. He's still sick, so can you keep an eye on him? Just check on him now and then, make sure he's okay. I'll be back soon." Emily barely looked up. "Yeah, sure," she mumbled. Chloe nodded. "Okay, Mom." I trusted them. They're adults, and Tom's their brother. I grabbed my keys, kissed Tom's forehead, and told him to text me if he needed anything. Then I left. About an hour later, my phone buzzed with a text from Tom. My heart sank when I read it. "Mom, I threw up again in my room. I called for Emily and Chloe, but they didn't come. Can you come home?" I could almost hear his small, scared voice through the words. I tried calling him, but he didn't pick up. Then I called Emily and Chloe. Both of their lines were busy. I started to panic, imagining Tom alone and sick, crying for help. I told my boss I had to leave and sped home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. When I got back, I ran upstairs to Tom's room. He was curled up in bed, his face pale with a mess of vomit on his sheets. He looked so small and helpless. "I'm sorry, Mommy," he whispered, his eyes wet with tears. I tried to call them, but they didn't hear me. "It's okay, sweetie," I said, hugging him. "I'm here now." After I cleaned him up and changed his sheets, I went to find the girls. To my surprise, they were both home. Emily was downstairs in the living room, still on her phone, and Chloe was in the kitchen, blending something in the blender. I couldn't believe it. They were right there in the house while Tom was suffering upstairs. Why didn't you help Tom? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Emily shrugged. I didn't hear him. I was downstairs. Chloe turned off the blender. I was using the kitchen stuff. It's loud, Mom. I didn't know he was calling. I might have believed them if... Tom hadn't told me he texted them. He sent you both messages, I said. He said they were read, but you didn't answer. Their faces changed. Emily looked away, and Chloe started fidgeting. We didn't see them, Chloe said quickly. Show me your phones, I said. I never check their phones, but I needed to know. They hesitated, but I insisted. Sure enough, Tom's messages were there, marked as read. He'd written, I threw up. Can you help me? And they hadn't responded. I lost it. How could you ignore him? I shouted. He's 7 years old. He's sick, and you left him alone like he doesn't matter. Emily rolled her eyes. You're making a big deal out of this, Mom. You can't expect us to be his parents. Yeah, Chloe added. You're putting all this responsibility on us. It's not fair. That's when I knew it wasn't about responsibility. It was about Tom. They've never accepted him because he's Robert's son. They hated Robert, and now they were taking it out on a little boy who's done nothing wrong. I felt a mix of anger and sadness wash over me. This isn't about you being parents, I said. It's about being human. Tom is your brother, and you neglected him on purpose. They started arguing, saying I was overreacting, but I'd had enough. You have 1 week to move out, I said, my voice shaking. I can't trust you around Tom anymore. That's when the tears started. Emily's face turned red and she yelled, You're kicking us out? You're worse than Dad's new wife. Chloe was quieter, but her eyes were wet. Mom, that's not fair. We don't have anywhere to go. I didn't budge. You're adults. You'll figure it out. I need to protect Tom. Since then, the house has been tense. The girls are barely speaking to me, and when they do, it's short and cold. They've been staying in their rooms, packing their things, and giving me looks that make me feel like the bad guy. Yesterday, Emily left a note on the kitchen counter that said, Thanks for choosing him over us. It broke my heart, but it also made me angry. I'm not choosing Tom over them. I'm choosing to keep him safe. I keep replaying the last few months in my head, wondering if I missed signs that things would turn out this way. When the girls first moved in, they seemed grateful. Emily would help with dishes sometimes, and Chloe offered to mow the lawn once. But there were little moments that bugged me. Like when Tom showed Chloe a drawing he made at school, and she just said, cool, without looking at it. Or when Emily snapped at him for leaving his toys in the living room. I thought they were just stressed about not finding jobs, but maybe it was more than that. Tom's been clingy since the incident. He keeps asking if his sisters hate him. I tell him they don't, that they're just going through a tough time, but I'm not sure he believes me. I hate lying to him, but I don't know how to explain that his sisters resent him for something that's not his fault. Robert's death hit Tom hard. He used to love sitting on the porch with his dad, listening to stories about cars and baseball. Now he's lost his dad, and his sisters don't want anything to do with him. It's not fair. I've been thinking about Robert a lot, too. He wasn't perfect, but he loved me and Tom. He tried to connect with Emily and Chloe, even when they pushed him away. He'd buy them little gifts for their birthdays, books or gift cards, but they'd barely thank him. I know they were kids back then, caught up in their dad's anger, but they're adults now. They should know better. Part of me wonders if I'm being too harsh. Emily and Chloe don't have jobs, and I know they can't go back to their dad's place because of Linda. I've thought about letting them stay longer, maybe setting stricter rules, but then I picture Tom's face when I found him in his room, scared and alone. I can't risk that happening again. I've been looking into apartments they might be able to afford, even offered to help with the first month's rent, but they're not interested. They just want me to change my mind. Yesterday, I sat down with Tom to talk about how he's feeling. He was playing with his toy cars on the living room floor, quieter than usual. "Mommy, are Emily and Chloe leaving because of me?" he asked. "No, sweetie," I said. "They're leaving because they need to start their own lives." "You didn't do anything wrong?" He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't convinced. I pulled him into a hug and promised we'd have a fun weekend, maybe go to the park or get ice cream. I want him to feel loved and safe, but it's hard when I'm so angry and hurt myself. The girls have 4 days left before they need to leave. Chloe came to me this morning and apologized, but it felt half-hearted. She said she didn't mean to ignore Tom and that she was just busy. I told her an apology doesn't erase what happened, but I appreciated her trying. Emily hasn't said a word. I don't know if they'll change their minds about Tom or if they'll ever see him as their brother. All I know is that I have to do what's right for my son, even if it means making tough choices. I keep asking myself if I've made the right decision. Kicking my daughters out feels like giving up on them, but letting them stay feels like betraying. Tom, I love all my kids, but I can't let resentment and neglect hurt my little boy. Maybe one day Emily and Chloe will understand why I had to do this. Maybe they'll see Tom as more than just Robert's son. For now, I'm focusing on keeping my promise to Tom, to be there for him, no matter what.